Welcome to the Private Lending Insider Podcast, where we offer education, expert guidance, and access to reliable private capital, empowering real estate investors to successfully develop affordable and workforce housing. As a result of the education and expert guidance shared on the Private Lending Insider Podcast, real estate investors, developers, and entrepreneurs gain fair access to reliable private capital to fund their profitable investment properties with greater ease, enabling them to earn the income they desire and live the lifestyle they really want. For continuing education and access to private capital, visit chamblissmortgagecapital.com after the podcast. Here's your show host, founder and CEO of Chambliss Mortgage Capital, Mr. Randy Chambliss, the private money lender expert.
Everybody, happy Thursday to you. I am Randy Chambliss, the private money lender expert. What's up? Listen, welcome to another episode of the Private Lender Insider Podcast. Listen, this is episode 6. We had some powerful people that came through and dropped some value, dropped some nuggets that people have been chiming in about. So listen, today I'm super excited. I'm thrilled, matter of fact, to have one of my mentors that's on this live podcast, and that is Mr. Alfred Nickson. So listen, just a quick background, right? Just to set the stage. I don't want to steal his thunder, right? But Alfred Nickson is a successful entrepreneur, a public speaker. Helping others achieve financial success is his calling in life, right? He's a man of God, family man. I love that fact. He have good work ethic, very dedicated. He's been raised from humble beginnings, from living in Miami, in Liberty City, very, very little cash available, to being a multi-million-dollar earner. Here's my point. When he was growing up, he made that transition from that thinking and the mindset that he was currently in. And so over the last 8 years, from the strategies and the platform he's used, he's earned a revenue of over $15 million, right? But that's not the impressive part. You know, what really impressed me, really intrigued me about Mr. Alfred is that he helped others, right? Others to be able to earn millions of dollars and also to earn six-figure incomes, right? That's the important part. One of the podcasts, a couple of podcasts back, there was a gentleman that made a statement. He said, wealth building is a team sport. And so Alfred is building huge teams all across the country, across the world. And so I'm excited. With that being said, sir, can you hear me okay, Mr. Alfred?
Absolutely, man. I can hear you loud and clear. Randy, man, it's such an honor. It's a privilege to be here on the podcast, man. Seeing what you and your wife has been able to build in the real estate game and empowering people in your community with financial literacy and empowering people to get into home ownership, man, it's been a blessing to see, man. And so I'm excited to be here tonight to be able to add some value, and congratulations on all of your success, man. I'm truly, truly proud of you.
Man, much appreciated, sir. Look, I'm humble, and I'm a student as well. So all the listeners going to be learning, but I'm going to be taking notes. So you might see me back here taking some notes. So before we get started, sir, give us some background. Where are you currently at today in your career, in your business? But also tell us some challenges that you had to grow through and some learning lessons.
Yeah, man, by the grace of God, I became financially free when I was 25 years old. That's when I retired my parents. I'm 32 years old now. By the grace of God, man, we've been able to build a wonderful business. I have so many incredible leaders. And I started this business venture, crazy enough, next month will be 9 years for me. And a majority of my leaders have been with me from that time. I got leaders that have been with me for 8 years, 9 years, 6 years, 7 years. And so for me, coming from humble beginnings, coming from Liberty City, if you don't know what Liberty City is, if you ever seen First 48, when they Miami, that's the neighborhood I grew up in. So it was really, really tough growing up in that environment. But that environment taught me how to, overcome, how to have backbone, how to have structure, how to be resourceful. And I always wanted to be in a position to be able to break that chain of poverty for my family. And I thought initially that was going to be through playing sports. In that neighborhood, that's what you do. You play sports, you try to go off and get a scholarship to go off to school or what have you. But God had other plans, and that's what brought me to the network marketing industry. In my particular realm is financial literacy. And so we just put our head down. Our first 3 years in the network marketing space was really, really tough for me. I barely made any money, but I always tell people that those 3 years is what propelled me. That was me cutting my teeth. That was me paying the price to get to the level of success that we are now. And so, again, I became financially free at 25. We've helped hundreds of people earn a 6 and a 7-figure income. And the best is yet to come for us. We're really just getting started.
Man, that's awesome. I love it. So, of course, to have that type of success, but more importantly, for it to be sustainable like it had, tell us a little bit about vision. Like, why was that so important for you?
Well, I got started here at 19 in this industry. And a lot of my friends at that time, they had went off to school. They went off to college. And again, those first 3 years, people asked me, how did you stick with it? How did you stay? How did you continue to fight and continue to show up? Well, I tell people all the time that when you in college, those first 4 years, well, back in the day, now they got NIL. But back in the day, those first 4 years, you didn't get paid nothing. You went to school, you stayed up late, you studied. You get what I'm saying? So for me, I looked at that as the network marketing industry as me paying the price, me putting my head down, going to work. And I tell my friends and all my business partners all the time, you can't graduate college as a freshman. You got to go through a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, a senior. You got to go through the process. No matter how much you want to walk that stage, you got to pay that price. And that's what I seen myself doing those first 3 years. Even though I didn't make money, I was paying the price, to be able to have sustainable growth and not just have quick success and it won't be able to last.
Right, man, exactly. And so, I want to talk a little bit about belief. I think it's extremely important because a lot of people don't understand that they have an opportunity to co-create their future, right? They could design a lifestyle based on their beliefs. So I have this acronym that I use called BEAR, B-E-A-R. B stands for belief, that determines the emotional state somebody is in. And that emotional state determines their action that they take. And the action they take actually determines the results, whether it's results they prefer or results they don't prefer. But most people, to change their results they want, if they don't prefer it, they go to the actions. But at the same time, the action steps only last a certain period of time, right? Maybe 2 weeks, a month, 90 days, but it's not sustainable. But when we go and deal with those emotions, right, tell the mind what to think, right? Tell the mind how to feel, but going back to those beliefs. So tell us a little bit about, what did you learn along the way about believing and how important that was in your business for your success?
You said something here. You said some of those things aren't sustainable. And the reason why they aren't sustainable is because a person, they can't see things through to the end. If you already begin with the end in mind, I already knew that I was going to be living the life that I'm living today far before it ever happened. I already knew that I was going to retire my parents, not just knowing, truly believing, and also putting in the work. And so, I told you earlier, the beginning of success to me is desire. You have to have the desire to want to do something, and you have to have the belief in yourself, and you have to continue to pour yourself to build confidence, continue to become better in the marketplace. And so for me, belief was everything. I believed when I had negativity around me. I believed when I wasn't getting the results, because I just knew without a shadow of a doubt I was going to go to the top. And we always talk about it, man. I wanted to become a millionaire, not because of the money, but the person that I had to become to attract the money, to attract the people, and be able to do the business. So that was more so important to me, the person I had to become, and just truly believing in myself. Most people don't believe in themselves, and that's probably why they don't have the sustainable results. They allow the emotions or the lack of results to get them off track. Me, I never even allowed the results that I didn't get me off track from my belief. It was just me the process and paying the price.
Right, exactly. And then, like you said something there, sir. You mentioned that you had that vision, you had that burning desire, and most people, they start off let's say on frequency 8, but that's infinite amount of frequencies, right? But that burning desire, that goal might be on frequency number 20, and most people don't understand that the law of attraction is not a primary law; it's a secondary law. The law of vibration is that primary law, and so you have to believe in your own mind's eye, feel that feeling of that you already done it. thinking from the place that you actually want to be. And as you're thinking from the place, now it becomes a knowing. It's not a hope. Hope is not a good strategy. It becomes a knowing. And then when you stay in that frequency, now you're actually matching that goal that you want to accomplish. So let's talk a little bit about goals, right? Mm-hmm. So you have big bodacious goals, somebody that want to hit it real big or whatever that could be. That could be to retire their parents. That could be to make sure that their parents in a later age in life never have to worry about their bills, never have to worry about water bill, gas bill, medicine. You're going to take care of them. Or it could be just taking a good family, memorable vacation with their family, right? So in order for those things to happen, sometimes the goal be so big, but they need smaller chunks. So tell me a little bit about goals. Like, how do you set goals and how you teach it?
Yeah, I believe you can't hit a target that you can't see. And so most people don't have goals. Most people have wishes, or they have dreams. And I believe, obviously, you said you want to have that end goal, and that's fine. But I also believe in daily goals, being able to build those small wins, being able to have a task of things that you can build momentum off of each and every day that can bring you that much closer to the ultimate goal. And so for me, my ultimate goal was to become financially free. My ultimate goal was to retire my parents. And I knew every single day, me doing the right activity, the right habits, and more importantly, having the right discipline. Being able to do things when your body or your mind or don't feel like doing it, or you're not even getting the results, right? And so that was big for me, having those daily wins, those small wins to build momentum off of that can really get into the big goals. But most people, like I said, don't have goals. They don't set those things. Most people don't write down goals. They have goals down here. What's going to separate you is when you're able to write them down. What's going to separate you is when you're able to see it every single day, because that's what's going to get you going, even when the days when you don't feel like getting out of bed or going to do the work.
Wow. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I want to change gears a little bit and talk about financial literacy. So oftentimes when you hear that term, people think about balancing a checkbook. They're thinking about, the fundamentals of financial literacy. And that is absolutely critical because it's not being taught, especially in the school system, sometimes even not in the household. But sometimes financial literacy is understanding this economy, right? So we all know, I hear it all the time that we're living in a democracy. I get it. And I agree to a certain extent. Right. But what most people don't understand, that we actually live in a capitalistic democracy, right? There's a law that states and decrees that the law of compensation, that you get paid based on the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty it is replacing you, right? Correct. And so when you understand that, hey, if I can understand capitalism, meaning that what I put out, I get back. When I go out and just sow in that ground, whether it's corn, if I got good soil, I'm watering, have good sunlight, I'm going to get corn back as you get my point. Right? You're gonna reap it, right? You're gonna get that corn back as you're gonna reap it, right? And so the idea is, hey, financial literacy, how important that was for your family, for your immediate family, but also your family, the cousins and family, and then also the people that you help and teach.
That was extremely important because where I grew up at, we didn't have it. Like I said, we was in survival mode. We grew up on Section 8, government assistance. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with nearly 14 people. So we didn't have wills and trusts and life insurance. We really didn't have a significant budget. We didn't really have very much. Nobody really in my neighborhood really even owned a home. And so for me, I thought it was extremely important for me to learn and understand not just how to make money, but also understand how money works. That's 2 different skill sets. That's 2 different educations. I know people that are earners. They can earn money, but they don't know how money works. They don't know how to sustain money, grow money, and employ their own dollars. And so financial literacy is extremely important, from the way that you balance, the way that you spend, even protecting your wealth and growing your wealth, taxes, wills, trust, all of these different things was something that I learned in my early 20s. Thank God for this platform and great mentors to be able to understand, again, how to make money, which is one skill, but also how money works, which is extremely important, and to be able to set your family up, but then to teach it, to duplicate yourself. If you look at the wealthy families, the elite families, they're being able to hand down legacy throughout their whole generations, and then teaching them the certain principles that came to create the wealth. And so that was extremely important for me to learn that foundation, teach it to my community, teach it to my family, and that's what we're still doing here today.
Man, awesome. And that brings to home ownership. Let's talk a little bit about home ownership. You made a statement when we was talking, we had a conversation. You mentioned that the platform, your team, has helped over 5,000 people become homeowners. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, we've helped thousands, probably way more than that, really, over the last 9, almost 10 years. For me, really, like I said, nobody in my family, immediate family, really owned the home, because of the education that I got with my platform. And of course, the income that we earn. My very first home, I was able to build it from the ground up in Los Angeles, California, which was incredible. We purchased another home down in Miami, in my hometown, on Donald Trump's golf course. So home ownership for me was extremely essential. But I also feel that, home ownership, you have to really understand what you're getting into, right? I think home ownership should be in a place where financially you're strong, because a lot of people, they're putting down a big down payment. You got HOA fees, you got maintenance, you got property taxes. You got to account for all of these things. But our goal is to empower people to get into home ownership. I think it's extremely important, but you also have to be educated. You got to have the financial literacy to go around what it takes to even maintain the home.
Absolutely. And I tell people all the time, my wife, she's a mortgage lender. She's a realtor as well. Of course, I'm a mortgage lender. And when we take those phone calls in, we're asking a few questions. Number one, we want to know, hey, what's your FICO score, right?
Correct.
Number two, we want to know how much do you have saved up so far for your down payment on your home.
Correct.
Number three, hey, how much income that you have coming in? And then I want to know, hey, what's your expenses going out? Do you have any student loans? What you have some credit card bills? And
right.
So what are we doing? Like, what we're trying to find out is that, do you have enough cash flow that's positive at the end of the month than you do? Do you have enough cash left over at the end of the month than you do bills?
Correct.
Oftentimes, some people have bills left over at the end of the month that they haven't paid yet, and it ran out of money. Correct. So you can't get in a position of home ownership at that, because you're setting yourself up for failure. But when you have that financial literacy, the tools, the resources, then you'll be able to work on yourself, and then now put yourself in a better position. Now you can afford that home. And so with that being said, home ownership just don't stop there, in my opinion, right? Once that person have their home, if their credit was jacked up at some point, now they didn't raise up their credit score, they have some savings, now they have some discretionary income. Now it's time to invest, right?
Right.
And so what is your take and beliefs on investing in real estate? Like, what is your opinion?
Well, they're not making any more land. I think real estate is essential. Most people's portfolio, the rich and the wealthy, they got real estate. And I believe that is essential for everyone to be able to catch up. I definitely believe highly investing in real estate, especially right now. I know people see what's happening with the market. I know interest rates are going down. It's a time where you'll be able to see and be able to take advantage of some opportunities. And I see that your team is going out there doing that. But real estate is a wealth principle. Putting that money in the ground, getting that dirt, having something that's tangible, I think is extremely important.
Absolutely. And when we talk about, even with the biblical standpoint, we know in the Old Testament, the children of Israel was in slavery in Egypt. And one of the promises that they had was the promised land. Correct. It wasn't the promised sky at that time. It was the land, the land of milk and honey. I mean, we're talking about alkaline water wells. We're talking about organic fruits and vegetables growing up. We're talking about live cattle. And they had so much land that created so much wealth. They ate off the land, and then they sold the rest. And it created wealth, and that was passed on from generation to generation. And we know that that land at that time today is called real estate, right? It was called real estate back then because the estate was real, right? And so with that being said, we always have this phrase, Mr. Nickson, called investing with a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. Give your mind a purpose. So when we working with good humans who invest with a purpose, that want to create more affordable and workforce housing in the community. so we can prevent and reduce homelessness in the communities that we're in. But the only way we can do that, we have to develop more financial literacy people and families that's going to turn around, have those conversations at the kitchen dinner table so they can go in and apply those things that they learn, use the tools and resources they have. So now they can put themselves in a position they can go and invest and go take that distressed property that's in their neighborhood, make it into a beautiful home. Now a family who was once couldn't afford it or couldn't have facing homelessness, not able to get in their house and actually live comfortable in a safe environment. And so with that being said, investing, right? We're getting away from real estate just a little bit, but how important is investing in making sure that you have a portfolio of different loan options?
Yeah, early on in my career, one of my mentors, he came up to me and he laid this thing out and he said, Alfred, you got to be able to invest. I said, yeah, of course. Because he said, Alfred, think about it. You're not rich or you're not wealthy if you're not investing. He said, think about it. If you make $1 million a year, pretty much half of that is going to go to Uncle Sam. You have a lifestyle, right? Your overhead. So what is really left over after that? You have to be able to make your money make money for you. So investing, even if it's small, whether it's getting you some stocks, getting you some crypto, getting you some real estate, investing into something that you're passionate about, that you can see profit from. I always tell people to get in businesses that can serve the masses. And right now, from the past 2 years to past 4 years, people are trying to recover when it comes to their finances. So being in financial literacy for me is a gold mine. Our business is exploding. People are trying to recover and explode and grow their finances in this season going into 2025. But if you're looking at this podcast, you got to find somewhere to start investing. You got to get into some real estate. You got to get you some stocks going. You got to be able to get into some crypto. I mean, I think Bitcoin hit 95,000, like an all-time high. And so here, in understanding that the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. I tell people immediately you gain equity. That's the best investment that you can make. And so I'm big on investment. I'm big on the financial literacy component and understanding finances, understanding money, and being able to teach it and duplicate within your community.
Yep. Awesome. Now you touched upon something. You said that you had somebody that taught you and showed you about investing and kind of gave you some guidance. How important mentorship was for Mr. Nickson?
Oh man, mentorship was extremely important for me. I mean, I started making a significant amount of revenue at a very, very young age, 24 years old, bringing in some significant revenue. And so when you coming from where I come from and you start earning in a week, what it probably would take your family 3, 4, 5 years to make, and you're making that in a week, you don't really have the education behind that money. You just see all of this money coming in. And so thank God for mentors who already knew the way and went the way, who was always great investors, who was already extremely successful, that was able to sit me down. Thank God for people that came in and showed me how to be able to sustain the wealth and be able to get trust and things set up, to understand taxes and all of those different things. I got that at a very, very young age from some incredible mentors and some incredible people. You said it as we started this call off. Building wealth is a team sport. We didn't do this by ourselves. We had some incredibly smart people that just showed us how to be able to leverage and employ our dollars.
Awesome. So step me through the process. Let's say a young man and a young woman, they just got married, 28 years old, one finished college, one didn't finish college. One have student loan debt, one doesn't, right? But they're trying to find their way. They have no business. Taxes is beating them up right now. Like if they come to you and say, Mr. Alfred, give me a couple of strategies that I could use right now to change the projection of my life, what would you tell them?
Well, one, I would tell them you got to get you a home-based business for very, very many different reasons. With a home-based business, you're going to get tax strategies and tax breaks and tax benefits from that in itself. Number two, with a home-based business is something that you can get involved for most of the cases less than $500, less than $1,000, where you can start a business that you can start building a residual income. We in 2024 going into 2025, the time of trading your time for dollars, that with so many different tools and resources out there, you want to be able to get yourself out of a realm. And so my strategy would be, okay, get you a solid revenue coming in, whatever that job may be, whatever you got going on. Okay, great. But you got to find you something on the side that you can build legacy. You know, my mentor always told me, work full time on your job and part time on your fortune. Over time, as Jim Rohn.
Wait, say that again. I can't let you slide by. Say that again, sir.
Work full time on your job and part time on your fortune. And over time, if you consistent enough, that part-time fortune could overtake your full-time job. And now you have choices and options. Do I stay at my job because I love what I do? Or do I want to be a little bit more passionate about this passion that I'm building and this fortune that I'm building and go full-time? You know, we have people in our business model that they make a significant amount of revenue, but they still full-time at their day job or their career because that's what they love. They just leverage our platform as a way to generate revenue. So if you're watching here, a home-based business is something that's just so essential that I think everybody should get involved in. Tax benefits in itself is worth the investment. So that would be my strategy for that person. Get you into a home-based business. Number two, get into a game plan on how we're going to pay off your debt. If you got some debt, what is your budgeting looking like? Are you living below your means? We're not trying to break even here, right? We got to have a few years where you may be living below your means, so you got some breathing room to invest into a home-based business, right? So those would be my strategies of getting them into a realm where they can start building something up like a home-based business, getting into, paying off their debt, getting the budgeting going down, and then put a game plan in place where they want to be at in their marriage, in their life, in their finances in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Right. Yep. Awesome. When we doing webinars and we doing in-person live events, I always share there's two financial objectives that everybody want to meet. Number one, they want to maintain their current lifestyle, meaning that they want to have to pay their bills, right? Earn some income, pay their bills, have money left over so they could go in and enjoy life, right? To be happy, right? One of my definitions of happy is the joy of living, right? Happiness is the joy of living. And when we have the first financial objective here, I want to be able to enjoy my life, have some cash left over to do what I want to do. And then the second financial objective is in the future. Like once you retire, and most people don't retire when they're passionate about what they're doing, but some people do, right? When you retire, you still want to maintain that lifestyle, have a greater lifestyle in the future. Then you got more cash flow that's positive left over at the end of the month. Well, oftentimes some people look at the government, can they give me enough Social Security for my future income? We know that's not the way to go. Can't bet on that.
Right.
Next, some people work and look for that pension plan to come through. Hey, my pension plan is going to pay. Well, some people pension plan got wiped out in the debacle back in 2008, 2009 in the crisis. So you can't depend on that. And so that small based business, you can grow and have that thing scaled over time when you have the right mentor, the right platform, the right strategy. Yeah. But we all have to understand that there's four things that we have to be aware of, but also know how to overcome. And you hit on it perfectly, and that was taxes. Most people don't understand that those taxes is extremely important. Sometimes they're in a 30% tax bracket.
It's extremely crucial. And again, it goes back to education. And we talked about it earlier, building wealth is a team sport. And so you want to be, if you're a person that's in your early years of earning and you're generating revenue and you're looking to become financially stable or financially free, you're building a business or whatever you have, you want to bring in the people that got the wisdom, the education behind tax strategy. It's one thing to get the money. We want to keep the money. We want to scale the money. We want to grow the money. How is it that people like Donald Trump and all these other people, Grant Cardone, are paying very minimal taxes and they're earning a significant amount of revenue? And you got people that's making 50, 75, 100 grand a year that's paying more taxes than them. They understand the IRS tax code. Wealth preservation. We want to preserve the wealth. We don't want to give the wealth away. So having certain strategies in place, having certain trusts in place that can protect your finances, that can protect, if someone try to come sue you, you could put your house in the trust. You could put your cars in the trust. You ever heard of that saying, own nothing but control everything? Being able to get in rooms like that to really understand what that means. And that's what, really, put people in a position to get ahead of the curve than people who may not have that information.
Absolutely. And, like we mentioned, that first challenge that we have to know about, be aware, and overcome is taxes, getting that education and applying what you learn. The second thing they got to overcome is debt. So many people is in debt, especially after COVID. They was using those credit cards and personal credit cards at a high skyrocket rate. But what most people don't know is that taxes actually causes debt to a certain extent. And what I mean by that, you have that person, they credit straight now, they have the perfect FICO score to go and buy their vehicle. They go to buy their home. Well, they go to that lender's going to ask, hey, how much do you earn gross? They're not asking you how much you earn net. They want to know what's your gross income. So in a way, that's good, yes. But think about this. You don't take home gross pay.
No.
So now you got the vehicle based on the gross. You got your new home based on your gross income. But if you're earning $50,000 a year, like you just mentioned, after the taxes come out, you might be only earning $35,000 a year.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have a gap disparity there. Your whole lifestyle is at $50,000. You want to bring it in $35,000, and what we see tends to happen: the credit card is being used to bridge that gap.
It goes down, like I said before, the education. And you heard me earlier say some years you have to have a few years where you're living below your means significantly. You're not trying to impress nobody. You need room to be able to make some investments, take some risks, do some things. I remember in my industry when we all first got involved, one of the goals for people to get to 10 grand a month. They wanted 10 grand a month because they wanted to get them a condo, they wanted to go get them a Mercedes Benz, and they want to wear a nice suit. That's taking your whole 10 grand. How are you going to have any flexibility to build anything? So again, be living below your means. And right now, Randy, it's over 100 million people. You ready for this? That got a 700 score or lower, that got below 700 credit scores from what's happened in our economy in the last 2 to 4 years. You have people that's right now that just the amount of debt that's in our country is over 36 trillion. You get what I'm saying? So right now we're in the state of people are looking to rebuild their finances. People are looking to get back in a strong financial situation. People are looking to pay off some debt. Inflation is at an all-time high. My uncle called me the other day, like, man, I can't even believe he's paying $8, almost $10 for a dozen eggs. So it's the inflation is going up. People income is staying the same or going down, right? And so now that's putting people out of balance. Now people leaning into credit cards because, again, you said they got that Mercedes Benz off of their gross income. They got that house off of that gross income. Income took a hit. Inflation went up. Now they completely out of balance and out of whack. So understanding finances, again, is one thing to make money. It's another thing to understand how money works. Do you have a savings? Do you have a 6-month emergency fund, a 12-month emergency fund, an 18-month emergency fund? God forbid something happened at your job, or you want to fall sick, or something happened in your business. What does that look like for you? Right. And so for me, when I sat down with my mentors, he said, well, yeah, you're making great money. But let's just say if you stop earning $1 right now and you add up what you earn, what your expenses are, how many months or years would you be able to live? He said, that's what I can call wealth. If you're able to live 15, 20 years with what you got saved based off your current lifestyle now, if you're not able to do that, you still got a lot more work to do. That puts things in perspective for people.
Absolutely. And so I want the listeners to really hear what you just said. Wealth is not about how much money you're earning. It's about time. How much time that you have without going to work that job and still have money constantly coming in or holding on to that money because that money is working for you, man. And so I want to talk a little bit about some other solutions, right? So we know phase 1, right, is start working on that debt. Start to save some income, right? Save some money up. Get that emergency fund in place. The next thing we want to do is be able to put ourselves in a position where we have a business, a small-based business, so that way you can start getting those tax credits. For example, the shirt that I have on, well, I'm going to wear this shirt regardless no matter where I go, right? But if I have a business, a small-based business, I can potentially write this off. If I'm flying to Miami and I'm going to do something in Miami, if I'm dealing with my business, prospecting and coaching and whatnot, then I could write a portion or maybe all of that off. So it's a beautiful thing knowing that you can still do the same things you've been doing, but now it's more beneficial to you because you have the business.
Right.
So now instead of you having 30% of your paycheck coming out, now you lower your tax bracket. That means you have more money to pay down that debt, and then you have more money to be able to save. So give us a little bit insight of business building, right? There's a law that I love to teach, and I learned it a while back, and it's called the law of economics. So the law of economics, ladies and gentlemen, decrees and declares and commands that if you want to increase your income, you have to increase your service. Who are you serving? So tell us a little bit about business. Like, what would you recommend to be able to build a model out where you're helping more and more people?
Again, for me, I like to find businesses that can, a service that can serve, or a product that can serve the masses. And then I look at, okay, I have a product or a service that can serve the masses, that can add value, that's a solution to people's problems. How could I scale this thing? How could I get what we want to call leverage? And you mentioned service, you know, and so for me, I'm all about distribution. When you look at companies like a very small company called McDonald's, you ever heard of that company? That's a pretty big company, right? They sell more burgers than anybody on the planet, not because it tastes the best, it's because of distribution. But they all started with one, and then they found a way to duplicate themselves all around the world. And so again, it starts with finding something that you can add value to, being a person of service, right? Being a person to develop relationships, getting to rooms, and then having, again, that service or that product that can support the masses. And how do I scale that? How do we start from with me here being in South Florida to all the way across this state to that country? That's how you look at the scale. But again, everything that was big once started small. So I'm always looking for leverage. My mentor told me, he said, Alfred, if you want freedom, you got to have time and money together. Alfred, I know a lot of people, they make a lot of money.
Right.
Also know they got a lot of time. Don't got no money.
Right.
You want both.
Right.
Sacrifice. It's going to take finding the right vehicle, the right tool, the right product, the right service that can serve the masses, and you have to do it with humility. You have to do it with service. You have to be an example, and it's going to take some years of you paying the price that you may not even be getting a return on. But we're farmers here. We're planting seeds. We're building, and we're looking to scale and add value and duplicate.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And a lot of people, sometimes they come from a family that was a working family, and sometimes they don't have that person in the house that could give them information about how to be a business owner, the proper mindset. So when you find a student, right, somebody that's looking for your leadership and your mentor, but they're just a little afraid to get into business, right? Obviously, they have to self-reflect and work on themselves. But what encouragement or what tools or resources you could share with them to say to get them from being unstuck, right? But I want to paint the picture properly. But they got to a point in their life where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired at this point, but they're just afraid to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know, being sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's one thing, but you're going to have to develop some skills, right? So not only do you have to develop some skills, we have to shift that mindset. If you're coming from being, you know, someone that maybe work a full-time job, a regular job, to you going to work, you getting paid for going to work, to shifting from a mindset of business, I'm getting paid off production. I'm not getting paid to show up at my business. I'm getting paid to get products and services, get things sold, go out there and build a scale. And it's some days where I may be working 14, 16-hour days where I'm not getting paid nothing. In some businesses, the first year, 3 years, the person that owns the business is paying out money to scale and grow the business, and they're not getting paid anything. So you got to be willing to pay that price. You got to be willing to shift your mindset. Getting information. One of the books that shifted my mindset was Think and Grow Rich. That's a famous book that we always talk about. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, understanding how money even works. Like, these was the things that gave me the right mindset to look at things completely different. Getting mentors, get around the right people that's already where I want to be. That shift everything for me, and it also helped me shorten my learning curve.
Man, I love it. And that's the whole key. You know, I had a brother that was on the show, like the very first show, and he was talking about mentoring. And he had made a statement say sometimes you got to realize that the mentor that come in your life is not always there for a life journey. Sometimes that mentor come in your life for that specific thing that you want to have. Right. So you have to be able to identify that. And number one, it goes back to what do you want? We talked about it earlier dealing with goals. Most people haven't even set the goal. They don't even know what they want.
They don't even know what they want.
Most people never even took the time. I know it's painful, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes when your money not right, it's acting funny. I get it. But you have to know without a shadow of doubt what is the total amount of income that's coming into your household. You have to know that number. You also have to know that second number, what's the expenses, the total money, the amount of money that's going out of the household.
Even out.
You have to know where you at today is the starting point. Then you can start planning to be able to pay off that debt, save that income, get those credit scores up. So speaking of credit scores, right? Tell us, why is that so important? I hear it all the time, you know, cash is king, cash is king. Yeah. But tell us a little bit of importance about credit, sir.
Cash is king, but credit is power. That 3-digit number puts you in the position to do what the rich and the wealthy do. And that's OPM. They use other people's money. I remember sitting down with a really, really good friend of mine, very successful. And he said, Alfred, man, I don't have credit. I paid everything cash. I said, well, why would you do that? He said, well, I didn't want any debt. A lot of the wealthy people I know, they have, it's one thing to have debt. It's another thing to have good debt. Mm-hmm. Leveraging other people's money. And if you have a good credit score, when those banks and those people that's lending out that money able to see, that's your adult report card. That 3-digit number, if it's healthy, people will lend you money that you can now leverage to go put into something else that can start generating you money, and then you can pay that thing back, opposed to using your own dollars. So a credit score is so essential, especially in today's world. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at this and you say, well, I don't even know my credit score. I already know, because half of Americans don't even know it. And as I said earlier, 100 million people got a 699 credit score or lower. So it's a good chance that somebody that's watching this, their score is less than 700. But that's okay. We can help you. We could put you in the position to explode your credit score. We could put you in the position to start getting your buying power back and start getting you access to funding and start getting you access to credit cards. And you may say, well, I never established any credit. That's fine. We can help you do that by putting you on the process and put you on the program to being able to do that. But credit is extremely important. Credit, that's your lifeline. That's your adult report card. You really can't get nothing without credit.
Period, point blank. I mean, we talked about this, I believe, offline, and I might have mentioned it on here too. We talked about democracy. America is a democracy, and I agree with that. But it's also a capitalistic democracy.
Correct.
Which means that you get paid, whatever you put out, you get back, right? And that's why so many people flock into America. You know, they coming on the water, right? They jumping them high fence because in their country, they will go to work and sometimes they don't get paid. And it's not a crime not to pay them. So, but they know here in America, if you go to work, you put in that work and you go work hard, then you're going to earn an income. Correct. So that's a difference. So the question is, hey, how can I leverage other people's money, like you mentioned? And that was a statistic and stat that I typically share. And that is that's $87 trillion with a T that's combined between venture capital companies and private equity firms. $87 trillion that they're controlling. Right around 1.33% of that money is reinvested to businesses that started and ran by people of color and women combined. Mm-hmm. And so women make up the majority of America, and then people of color make up at least 13% of that. So the question is, how can you get fair, equitable access to that capital? Now, the biggest donors to these platforms is the public employee pension systems. And everybody have somebody in the family who's probably a teacher, know somebody that's a firefighter, working in the school system, some kind of police officer. And their portion of their paycheck goes up into a pension plan. And it's supposed to be going to these big corporations, big platforms. They reinvest their money into what? Most of the time is real estate. and then getting a good return on that money and paying people out for their future. Well, here's the thing. When an individual is using a vehicle of real estate investing, the biggest vehicle that they can use is real estate investors, but the fuel for that vehicle is capital. It's a very, very capital intense business. So you always got to get access to capital, but it's going to take that credit score to get there.
Got to get credit. Got to have credit. Like, again, like I was telling you, one of my, people that I know, like I said, they was paying for everything cash, but I was showing them, man, it's costing you so much money. You're deploying all of your liquid for what? You should be leveraging that. I know people that got 100 million and they don't even touch their own money. They have the liquid capital and they have the credit, which is your adult report card. People will be trying to beg to send you money. And so that should be a foundation for you leaving out of this year. If you're watching this podcast, if your credit ain't where it want to be, if you never really thought about credit, I'm telling you, that is going to position you to be able to put yourself to a whole nother realm, to be able to leverage things for yourself, and be able to invest in some of these things that we talked about here on the call tonight. You got to get to the next level.
Absolutely. And so I want to change gears a little bit about this regurgitating the information, teaching the information, sharing the information, right? So there's, some individual that's been around a long time. They have a good brand that's out there, and they go to the churches and teach the churches the financial literacy. They go to corporate organization and teach the employees in the cafeteria. Like how important that is for you to provide the education, but also have teams that can go out and teach this to the average person.
Man, it's extremely important. I mean, we go to the churches, we're in the communities, we even go into the schools. We have a platform where we educate the youth from the ages of 8 to 18 on their finances, and we give them scholarship money. They're the future, right, of our country. They're the future of having that education. I didn't have that growing up. And so for us, it's extremely important to empower our community. That is how I started, in the financial literacy space. When I got in, I thought it was my duty to be able to take this education that I'm getting here and pour it into my community and pour it into where I'm from. And then we kind of scaled it over, to other states. But that is extremely important. People just don't know what they don't know. They don't have the information. They probably desire to have a good credit score. They don't want to be in debt or living paycheck to paycheck, but it's not too many realms where they can go and get the information. Me and you, Randy, now we have the juice. We have the tools to be able to get people that's watching this podcast and people like you and I know to be able to get them to the next level when it comes to not only just their finances. It's one thing to improve your credit score. It's another thing to understand how credit works, to be able to leverage. And again, making money is one thing. Understanding how money works, that's a whole different ball game, a whole different stratosphere. And so we're going to be here to be able to walk people through that process and show them how to get to that next level.
Awesome. So with that being said, my question to you, sir, is are you able to come on another platform and be able to teach a more depth and more details of what you've been sharing all across the country?
Absolutely, man. Randy, I think we got something going, this upcoming Saturday? That's what we're looking to do?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So you guys, you heard it here live, right? Alfred have a absolutely commitment. He's like, look, we're going to get this thing in. So Saturday, right? This Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, mark your calendars. It's a private event, right? It's not going to be live and streamed. So you're going to either have to reach out to Mr. Nickson, reach out to myself to be able to get that broadcast link so you could come in a setting where you can actually learn and grow and learn these financial tips and tools to be able to get the credit score up, to be able to get yourself with a plan to get out of that debt, get yourself with a plan to save that extra income, and the more important, get yourself in a positive cash flow. So now you can teach it to your children can teach it to their children, and then you can go out there and spread the word to the community. So 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, that's what we're going to do this training. So question for you, Mr. Alfred, like how can people get in touch with you? Like if they want to say, listen, I need some more mentorship. Like what can they do? How can they contact you?
Absolutely. The name you see on the screen, Alfred E. Nickson on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. Man, we're here to serve the people, man. We've been able to help an incredible amount of people. Built an organization. I want to say over 500,000 customers that we have put through a platform when it comes to financial literacy. And the best is yet to come. My goal, we have a mission called Impact 1 Million. We want to help 1 million people become debt-free. We want to help 1 million people become financially independent. And we want to help 1 million people become homeowners through our education system and the tools that we have to be able to empower them when it comes to financial literacy. So you can find me at Alfred E. Nickson all across all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok.
Awesome. Look, my brother, look, I am grateful, bro. I'm humble. I learned a lot, and I'm sure these listeners, right, is raving right now because you dropped a lot of value. Much appreciate you. Super, super busy, but you decided to come on the platform and provide some value. So enjoy the rest of your day on purpose, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, you enjoy the rest of your day on purpose. This podcast you'll be able to listen to on iHeartRadio, Apple iPad, Spotify, etc. So it will be up pretty shortly. God bless and enjoy the rest of your day on purpose. And I mean that. Take care.
That brings today's show to a close. Thank you for listening to the Private Lending Insider Podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to share it with a friend and subscribe. Please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Randy the Private Money Lender. For continuing education and access to reliable private capital, visit chamblissmortgagecapital.com. Until next time, choose to have a great day on purpose.